If you guys enjoy what I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free and easy to do. Before we get started with today's video, I have an announcement to make. After years of telling other people's stories, I finally released one of my own. My novel Eternal Reign is available now in both ebook and paperback format for those of you who are like me and prefer to collect physical media. You can grab a copy right now on Amazon through the link in the description of this video. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. The Jedi Master Oteg, who commands the Republic fleet, left his droid out so it could get your attention when you walk by. Calling you on your personal frequency would have been easier, but this way he can be sure that no one will be able to listen in. He needs your help with something important, so secrecy is a very high priority. He's gotten some info that says the Empire has a secret prison inside of a place called the Maelstrom Nebula. It's pretty much impossible to fly there without dying if you don't have the right equipment. But the Empire is keeping a Jedi there who has some extremely important information, so you need to free him. Normally, no information would be worth taking on such a risky mission, but the particular Jedi knows exactly what the Sith Emperor is planning, so freeing him is worth any price. Oteg will tell you the full plan when you meet him on his ship, so you head to the Dreadnought Telos to see just what you're about to have to do. When you get to the ship, Oteg lets you know that the way he found out about the prison wasn't exactly normal. But Jedi are used to strange things, so you're pretty sure nothing he tells you will be that far out of the ordinary. And you would have been wrong, because the source of his information appears, and it's the ghost of a long-dead Jedi. While Force ghosts aren't exactly the rarest thing in the galaxy, they don't usually pop up in random places talking about launching a prison break to stop the end of all life. According to her, the prisoner has been holding the Emperor back for 300 years, but he's starting to wear down. If he loses, then he'll fall to the dark side, and the Emperor will use him to wipe out everything. You have a lot of questions, like how this guy lived for 300 years, but the dead Jedi can't stay for long, so you'll have to get your answers after you break into the prison. The Jedi did manage to tell Oteg what he'll need to get there. There's a special computer called a Gree that the Imperials have in one of their fortresses, and it's the only thing that can guide a ship through the nebula. The Gree are an extremely old civilization whose inventions are hardly seen anymore. So how the Empire got their hands on some of their tech is a complete mystery, but you're going to get it by utilizing the 5-finger discount. Their fortress is on a planet called Taral 5, and it's guarded by way too many warships for the Republic to launch a direct attack. So Oteg's people decided to capture an Imperial shuttle and let you and a small team use it to sneak past the guards and land on the planet. Oteg and his fleet will hide out on the edge of the system so he can watch your progress, and if things start to go wrong, they'll come to get you. It's the best plan you've got, so using your stolen shuttle, you make your way to the planet and get to work. It's a very dangerous world, not just because of the Imperials, but there are a lot of very unfriendly and very large creatures there that are very eager to eat intruders. But you make your way into one of the Empire's facilities and contact Oteg to find out exactly where you need to go next. His slicers have been shutting down the Empire security grid to make it easier for you to get into the fortress, and for them to get you off-world when the job is done. And since the fleet isn't expecting a ground assault, you shouldn't have to deal with them. He sends you the location of the fortress, and you get back to business. When you get inside of the fortress, you get contacted by your old not friend Grand Moff Kilran, who is happy to see that he gets another opportunity to finish you off since the whole Asales incident. He's in his ship above the planet, and even though you're in his people's fortress, he has no problem blowing them up to get to you. Oteg heard the transmission from the crazy Moff, so he takes his fleet in to stop him from dropping more bombs on you, but you don't have long to get the computer. The last thing guarding it is a general using a lot of highly experimental Jedi killing tech that does little to keep him alive or make you not be. And once he's done, you find the scientist and the very small computer that you need. Dr. Narum, the guy in charge of the facility, doesn't want to give you the computer since Darth Malgus got it when he was out in the Outer Rim, and without it the hundreds of ships that they have studying the Maelstrom Nebula will all be destroyed. The safe paths into and out of the place change by the minute, and if you take the computer, hundreds of civilians will die. Since you're not a monster, you let him send a final order for them to leave through a safe route before you take the computer and get out of there before Kilran finishes blowing up the fortress, proving that you cared more about the lives of his people than he did. Oteg's fleet lost quite a few major ships during the battle, but there's no time to cry about it since you need to get to the prison before the Empire puts more defenses around it. His people have already started using your computer to plot a safe route to the Maelstrom prison, so you get ready to head out to save a man who's apparently so important that the entire facility was built just to hold him. Despite everything that it took for you to get to the Maelstrom prison, that was the easy part. Even though there's only one prisoner there and it's in the middle of a location that's almost impossible to reach, It's guarded by everything from highly advanced droids and soldiers armed with some brutal weapons to high-ranking Sith. Despite all of that, you prove to be so difficult to kill that Grand Moff Kilran contacts you when you hack into one of the prison's computers. He beats you to the prison and he has some of his ships positioned to wipe Jedi Master Oteg and his fleet out, which will leave you an easy target. Oteg lets you know that Kilran isn't bluffing. Between his fleet and the prison's defenses, Oteg's people won't last for much longer, so instead of letting them die, you tell them to retreat while you take down the prison's defenses and rescue the Jedi. Kilran won't bomb the prison like he did the fortress, so you won't have to worry about that at least. Oteg agrees, and you get back to cutting a path to the heart of the prison. When you reach the holding cell, Kilran himself shows up to stop you. Darth Malgus tells him to focus on securing the prisoner instead of fighting you, but the Moff has gotten so tired of you personally that he just wants you dead. Both he and Malgus are surprised that you're doing all of this without knowing who the prisoner is, and while Malgus respects your devotion to your cause, he thinks it's for the best if you die without knowing. Unfortunately for him, Kilran isn't up to the task, and you put the Moff down for good, letting you finally rescue the prisoner, who turns out to be none other than Revan, the legendary Jedi whose story was told in Knights of the Old Republic Part 1. You would think he'd be happy to be set free after being locked up for 300 years, but since he was the only thing keeping the Emperor from invading the galaxy, he's not all that thrilled. Not until the Force Ghost who guided you all to the prison in the first place appears and lets him know that he was losing the fight, and he needed to be set free before the Emperor could turn him back into Darth Revan and make him his pawn again. A very long time ago, Revan had led his friends to the edge of the galaxy to fight the Emperor, thinking that they could beat him, but they had seriously underestimated just how strong he was. They got betrayed, all of his friends died, and the Emperor used Sith alchemy to keep Revan alive. The Emperor is well over 1,000 years old, and he knows things about the Force that no one else does. He was able to use Revan's link to the light side to see visions of the future, but that link let Revan influence the Emperor a bit. He convinced him that peace with the Jedi was in his best interest, so he prevented the war that would end all things. What he didn't realize is that the war has already started. Once his dead Jedi friend tells him that, he leaves the prison with you, and you get out of there before anyone else can try to stop you. A lot of people died to save Revan, something that he's not happy about, but he is happy to see that the Jedi still make strong warriors. He's pretty sure that if you had been on his team back when he fought the Emperor, things might have gone differently. Despite that, he's not willing to join your crew. His link to the Emperor is broken now, but he learned a lot from him, so he plans on sharing all of that info with the Jedi before he puts an end to the Sith Empire for good. He knows of a place called the Foundry that the Emperor couldn't get him to reveal. It has the power to wipe out civilizations in the wrong hands, but Revan thinks that he can use it to save the galaxy from the Emperor. But that's his mission. Since you have your own, the two of you say your goodbyes, but not before he tells you that the Force Ghost who had guided you was Mitra Surik, his best friend, and a Jedi known as the Exile, or your character from Knights of the Old Republic Part 2. Darth Malgus, one of the highest ranking Sith in the Empire, needs you to complete a very important task for the Emperor that will do a lot when it comes to shifting the balance of power to their side in the war with the Jedi. For the last 300 years, the Emperor has held a Jedi captive, keeping him alive for a multitude of reasons. One of those reasons was to get the Jedi to give up the location of the Foundry, an ancient space station that is extremely powerful. The Emperor couldn't get the man to give up the location, and unfortunately the Republic attacked the prison and freed the Jedi. That may turn out to be a good thing because the Jedi fled to the Foundry. He brought a lot of Republic ships and soldiers with him, which made it a lot easier for Malgus to find the place. It won't be easy to take it though, but Moff Fenrir is assembling a large strike force to try. Malgus wants you to join him so you can take the Foundry and kill the escaped Jedi, so you go to meet with Moff Fenrir to see just how he plans on carrying out this attack. Most Moffs don't really seem to like working directly with the Sith, but Fenrir seems to be the opposite. The Foundry is built into an asteroid out in the Nanthri system, so it is extremely sturdy when it comes to outside attacks. And since the Empire has no idea what the facility is capable of, a straightforward attack could end with the fleet getting wiped out or having to destroy the facility entirely, neither of which are pleasant outcomes. So you need to find a way inside of the place before the fighting starts. There's a Republic cruiser that's bringing supplies and reinforcements to the facility at that very moment, and Moff Fenrir is going to capture it. He wants you to lead the boarding party, take over the ship, and use it to sneak into the Foundry. Technically, the Treaty of Coruscant is still active, so none of you are supposed to be directly fighting the Republic, but getting the Foundry is more important, so you invade the cruiser and get to work on the whole capturing it thing. Even though you're all supposed to be at peace, the Republic has more than a little bit of highly destructive weapons and soldiers on board who make your assault a lot more difficult. Not to mention the fact that there are quite a few Jedi on board too, all who are dead set on keeping you from taking their ship. When it becomes clear that they aren't tough enough to do the job, Captain Yalto, the woman in charge of the ship, decides to take drastic measures and sets the ship to self-destruct. Considering the fact that you need the ship intact, you make a detour from the bridge and shut down the reactors first before you finish off the last of the Republic's fighters and claim the ship for yourself. Captain Yalto is a tough woman, and since she saw how the Sith were in the last war, she doesn't even waste time trying to negotiate. But since you're not technically at war, killing the captives might make things escalate a little bit faster than even the Empire wants. So you decide to take the people prisoner instead of finishing them off, since they can always be executed later if need be. What's more important is you have the ship, and it has some useful information on the Foundry. There have been 3 other places like it in known history, and each one was able to mass produce highly advanced tech at rapid speeds. One was able to xenoform planets, another could build fleets of starships in an instant, and the Foundry can make an endless supply of battle droids. It's a Starforge that gives the owner access to a practically endless army, which means you really need to get it away from the escaped Jedi since he was a brilliant general back in his era, and with an infinite army, he really could wipe out the Empire. So you head off to use your stolen ship to lead a ground assault on the Foundry, while the fleet keeps the Republic distracted, which should give you the chance to kill a legendary Jedi from the past and take control of a weapon that will almost guarantee that the Empire wins the war against the Republic. All of the preparations are done, so you and your crew take your stolen ship to the Foundry for what will very likely be your most dangerous mission so far. The Republic is a little bit suspicious about the fact that your ship is a few hours late, but you manage to convince them that you had to run away from an Imperial patrol, which is technically true. You just leave out the fact that you were the Imperials and you stole the ship. They let you dock, and you immediately get to work doing what you do best, and that's what in the far future will be known as aggressive negotiations. The facility is heavily guarded, which isn't exactly a surprise, since the Emperor's former prisoner has the place up and running and is pumping out droids at a very fast pace. Even so, you destroy enough of them to cause the Jedi to talk to you from a distance, since fighting you isn't his goal. He has a much bigger goal. He plans on destroying the Emperor and everything he's built, since his existence is a threat to the galaxy. If you agree to surrender to him, he won't kill you along with everyone else. Since the odds of you doing that are absolutely 0, he decides to turn the full might of the Foundry and its extermination droids against you. Those droids are led by his own personal assassin droid who had traveled with him before the Emperor had captured him, HK-47. The droid has always been a fan of all things death and destruction, so he's been enjoying sending the Foundry's tools after you. The Foundry's droids are unique because they have a built-in scanner that's designed to detect Sith genetic material, and they're programmed to kill anyone who has even a single drop of Sith DNA, which comes up to a little over 97% of the Empire. The Jedi who controls the place was never worried about simply using the Foundry to end the war. He was always planning on removing every bit of Sith blood, whether it was held by fighters or civilians from the galaxy. He's clearly working alone since the Jedi Council would never agree to do something like that. That makes stopping him even more important, but to get to him you have to go through HK-47, which is no easy feat. But you get the job done and go to face the Jedi. He honestly thinks that him wiping out billions of people to stop the Emperor from doing the same makes sense, simply because unlike the Emperor, he'll feel bad about doing it. I don't think the people he's about to obliterate will care all that much about how he feels since they'll be dead regardless. But this Jedi has been having his mind messed with since the moment the Emperor turned him from a Jedi into the Sith Lord Darth Revan 300 years ago. So it only makes sense that he's a bit crazy. The Republic hadn't even known that the Emperor or the Empire existed back then, but Revan had found hints about them on Korriban and Malachor. The Emperor had felt him getting close to things he wanted to keep hidden, so he had summoned Revan and corrupted him, leading to him nearly destroying the Republic. He had lost his memories in an attack from his own apprentice, and the Jedi took the opportunity to bring him back to the light side. When he started to get his memories back, he left his wife Bastila Shan to go and hunt for the Emperor, which led to the death of his friends and him getting locked up for 300 years. Since he's been both a Jedi and a Sith and he understands the Emperor better than anyone else, he believes that it's his job to kill him. This is the way that he plans on doing it, and no amount of talking to him will stop him, so you do the only thing that you can, and that's fight Darth Revan. He's obviously extremely powerful, but when he reaches the end of his life, he explodes in a burst of dark side energy that makes it seem likely that this time he's really dead. With Revan gone, you contact the fleet and let them know that the Foundry is yours, and you found out that the Jedi you were after turned out to be Revan. Moff Fenrir and Darth Malgus both knew this, but they decided to keep it a secret since even in the Empire, Revan has followers, and there's no telling what would have happened if people found out that he was alive. That won't be a problem now, and with the Foundry in Imperial control, there's all types of things that they can do. They may even be able to rebuild HK-47, giving you your own personal assassin droid to pal around with while you finish destroying the Republic. This concludes the story of the Foundry Flashpoint. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, comment, share, and subscribe. Grab a copy of my novel on your way out, and I'll see you all next time.